Greetings, everybody. Omega Tafari here, back at you again on UUC TV. You know how we do it, as you can see already. I'm here with some wonderful DJs from all over. So I'm going to give them a chance to tell us more about your journey into the reggae music scene, because you guys rock. I just listened to some of your sets and wow, amazing. So we can start with Professor.
Hi people, greetings, yeah. So my name is Joost, but people call me Professor Justy. It's a long story, it's a bit of a joke. But yeah, Prof Justy is my selector name. Mm-hmm. I am actually a professor, but that doesn't really matter. Thank you for inviting me here. It's always nice to play on people's sound. It's good to meet new people in the scene. You asked me, what do you want to know? My journey?
Your journey into the whole dub reggae scene.
My journey starts a long time ago when I was 15 and I became conscious. And like I think a lot of people who are not born into the scene but grew into it, my way in was through Mali and through that kind of roots vibe. But very, very quickly, as I became in my late teens and 20s, I kind of got more into dub and roots dub and the sound system scene. Scotland, where I was studying Messenger Sound System. Big up Messenger Sound System. Messenger Steve, I saw him last week at Carnival.
Nice.
Yes, nice to see him again.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my thing, and I used to like play a little bit with friends. In those days, there was no YouTube, there was no digital, it was all vinyl, and it was like, where do you play? So you play at people's parties. We used to play at people's parties. And it was always my ambition to go bigger, but I was always a bit shy, and I never had any money to buy records. You know?
Okay.
Never, so I'd be like, I'll buy like 1 record, 2 records a month, and I'd be like, I had this little record collection like this, and I knew every tune, and it was like, oh, when I'm gonna play, I'm gonna, people would be like, we can't have you again because you're gonna play the same stuff, this kind of stuff.
Right.
Then I stopped for 20 years because I got into work, I started traveling, I got married, I had a kid, and then came back into it in COVID when my records arrived from the UK, and I was locked in the house. I was bored. And I started playing tunes again, and then I had a job by then, after 20 years, so I started buying records. Mm-hmm. And now I've been very busy buying records.
Busy buying records.
But it's all about, it's all about the selection, man. I mean, the records, yeah, you just keep buying more records.
Right.
So that's kind of my story, sure.
Oh, nice, interesting. And how was your journey? How's your journey going?
Yeah, well, my name is Yeshua Tokwe. That's my name that they know out there, but apparently it's becoming unpopular because of the selection. Now everyone just says Roots.
Okay.
Which is Professor Roots. I'm from a sound, right? Not a sound system, a sound.
Right.
Called Royal Lion Sound Africa. Right. We shall get into that a bit later, I guess, in the differentiation between the two. But basically, my journey also starts in the 80s. I was very young, right? And I was born in a family where, coming from Zimbabwe, and we just got our independence, and Bob Marley came through. Everyone in our hoods, like our townships where we stayed, was so much influenced by the reggae. So every 2 in 3 houses was playing reggae. Mostly Bob Marley. Some who had discovered other artists now would come and say, do you know there's actually another artist that you didn't know? Yeah, so starting point would be my 4th year birthday, right, when my dad buys me a 7-inch single, a vinyl.
Okay.
It was a Bob Marley Buffalo Soldier.
Oh,
I
wow.
loved that one. It had a version now at the back. So I think it was on an island label, if I'm getting it right. So I used to play that song a lot. I loved it so much until at some point I was called Buffalo Soldier, even with my friends. Then one day, I was so bored with listening to the side A. I said, let me try play the flip side. The moment I had the dub, my heart just got in there. And fast forward, I used to now start to follow with the big hydrants who were there. They used to come with catalogs. Some would be choosing records. We had record bars those days. So you'd walk into the record bars. They used to label the sections: reggae section, local music section. So that was the kind of vibe. So now every weekend my dad would go with me to shop records, and I'll just spend time on the reggae aisle, just going through,
Wow.
and reading. I was so fascinated about seeing their pictures on the cover. Then when you flip, you read. Sometimes they'll put a sleeve explaining a couple of things about the band. It was so amazing. So I just grew up with that culture. You see, around me, that reggae culture was around. Yes, they would play other music from other places, but reggae was so dominant in my space. So definitely I had no other way. As I was growing up, we heard of the big sound systems that were coming. That was around towards the 90s. Big sound systems had already come, but I couldn't have access to them because I was young. So around your early 90s, I then got to go in spaces where I could interact with people who are on those sound systems, and I hear the stories they are talking about. And when I get home, I take my records, I start, emulating.
Right.
Yeah, calling myself a name.
Right,
playing.
right.
Yeah, that's how basically my foundation of my journey started.
Wow,
Yes.
sounds exciting. Wow, amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
give thanks.
Wow, amazing. My brother?
Okay, they call me DJ Moya. So Moya is not my name that I gave to myself. They just call me Moya. So Moya, for my language, it just means someone who's tough. A guy who goes to the gym, so it's
Right,
called a Moya.
right.
So anyway, I'll just try to
Moya.
explain the name. So that's
Right,
how I
right.
got that. I got this from school. Anyway, just my name from
Wow.
school. My foundation or my background basically maybe goes way back to the 80s, late 80s or early 90s. And most influence came from when I went to high school. We've always been listening to reggae. Reggae has been just what would be played in the township. So whether you were playing it at your house or anywhere you walked, it was just reggae. So it was the Lucky Dubes, it was the Bob Marleys. So there's not every third house or second house like you were saying. They were just playing weekends. I knew all the songs. So wherever you went,
Wow.
it was just reggae, and it was just Lucky Dube. But the main influence came from when I went to high school. So when I was at high school, actually I was at a boarding school. So when we used to have entertainment, then it was reggae. That's why I got introduced to the Dennis Browns, the Gregory Isaacs. This I got to know through our seniors and the dubs. Actually nice with the DJ Royal Lad. He played one tune that I last heard maybe 1991. That's when I last heard, or 1992. And we used to dance to this tune. So every Friday we called it a record evening. So it's basically it was an entertainment. So you listen to music because we were scholars, we were at a boarding school. So that's the only time we had entertainment. So every Friday you knew it was a Dennis Brown, you knew it was a Gregory that was playing. So there we got, that's where the influence came, and we just loved the music. Then when it came into the mid 90s, is it mid or mid 90s, then we also introduced some dancehall. So the first I got to understand was dub and reggae. That's the first introduction to myself. Then came the dancehall. We were youths. We moved into the dancehall period as well. We're going to the dances and all that. And then how the DJ Monya came, I was basically a party DJ. So not like a well-known person, but close people. When they had their parties or their brides or whatever they call them, they would just invite me or call me because they knew I had my collection, because I had collected lots of songs over the period of time. So I've been playing around friends. So I haven't been going to clubs and playing there. I was just playing around with people that know me.
Amazing.
That's when I then got to know King Roots, and then I started following King Roots. But
Right.
basically, that's me.
Oh, nice, nice. Interesting, right? Also from Zimbabwe. That's where
Yeah.
it all started,
That's correct.
right?
Yes.
Wow, amazing. And my brother,
Thomas.
what inspired you on this dub scene, reggae scene? You're in South Africa right now.
As for me, my name is Thomas.
Thomas.
I'm also from Zimbabwe.
Yes.
But as for me, I'm like a newcomer to this. I'm trying to figure this.
Right.
So I'm still learning.
Still learning.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
Yes. We give thanks. Always new ones coming up and so forth. Yeah.
Everyone's learning, man. We're all learning.
Yes. Exactly. So we're in South Africa right now, okay? And you from Zimbabwe. Everyone's from Zimbabwe. Professor
I'm from the world.
from the world, right?
I spent a lot of time with it, but yeah.
Right. So now it seems like you guys are basically can I say that you are observing South Africa's reggae scene? Can I say that?
Yeah.
Right. What do you think? What is the challenges in South Africa when it comes to our reggae scene? Because I don't think we're at the level where we're supposed to be at right now in South Africa. What do you think could be our challenges, and how can we fix this problem? You know, to get reggae where it's supposed to be at in Southern Africa.
Such a difficult question.
It's a difficult question,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I think one of the things that one of the things that surprises me, I spent a lot of time in Zim, I spent a lot of time in Nairobi, and in other parts of the continent, Tanzania, for example, and Uganda. Reggae is huge in all of those places, right? Like you go to any bar, any bus, any street corner, exactly what you described. You're going to hear Bob Marley, you're going to hear Burning Spear, you're going to hear Culture, all of the classics, and maybe even more than that, you're going to hear some of the old Lovers Rock stuff, but you're also going to hear a lot of dancehall. And in South Africa, you don't. You don't hear it like in the streets everywhere. At least not in my experience. So that to me is like kind of strange. And yet at the same time, on the South Rand and the East Rand, around Kebra and around the other sound systems, there is this highly developed sound system culture, right? Which we are all kind of on the edge of. You guys are probably more in it than I am. I've just started getting it. But what surprises me about that is that it's a very sophisticated culture, right? They're playing Steppers tunes that came out last month in London. That kind of stuff, right? In Nairobi, I'm working with a sound system, and they're struggling to try and take this huge Nairobian population all into reggae, but trying to get them more into the sound system vibe. So to me, that's super peculiar and really interesting. So I'm just trying to complicate your problem a little bit, right?
Right. Because when I went to Zim, I could hear taxis playing reggae.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so much different from South Africa, because you can't hear it now. You hear it nowadays.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about 2007. When I was there, and I could just hear taxi. Any case, just playing reggae. Reggae was playing all over the show. So maybe that's one of the problems, that people are not exposed to it a lot. I don't know, because when you speak to people in South Africa about reggae, all they can tell you or who they can talk about is Lucky Dube.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think?
For me, sorry to jump in, like you're saying, it's the exposure. At the end of the day, it's the exposure. That's how we were exposed.
Yeah.
Because there's just no way you could go where there was no reggae. Anywhere you would go, like you're saying in the Texas, anyway, it is reggae.
Yes.
So then this goes to the people who have got the means to play. They're not playing reggae. So that's all I can say. So the people or the DJs around, they then don't play the reggae. They play other music. And people listen to what the DJs play. So if you go to any, let's say, club or whatever, they will listen to what the DJs are playing there, because that's what the DJs play. So for me, I think the DJs play a very crucial role. Or the reggae DJs, they're gonna have to play more reggae. So those reggae DJs are gonna have to play it. How often? I don't think it should be a monthly thing, or it has to be a daily thing.
A daily thing.
I'm telling you, it's gonna have to be. Yes. And when I say it's a daily thing, what I mean there is, you're not gonna have people who don't have to wait and say we're waiting for a function on the 22nd of this month. They should say, now I'm chilling at home, I haven't got anything to do, I'm going to XYZ, they play reggae. So they will know there's always people there who play reggae.
I wonder
So the moment, because we don't play it enough. Because where we grew up, I could go just walking anywhere, and we knew there they play reggae, there they play reggae. So whenever you feel you want to go and listen to music, there will be people playing there.
I wonder
But here we don't play it that
I
much.
wonder whether there's an old historical thing here, right? There's something about South Africa. South Africa has always seen itself as separate from the rest of the continent. Always, right? And South Africa, it seems to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I was much more orientated towards America, and has been for a long time, culturally, politically, in many ways. And there's something about South Africa. I remember talking to a guy who used to be in MK. He was in APLA, PAC guy. He used to be in Tanzania, right? I was interviewing him about his history there. And I kind of realized that these guys, even at that moment, those guys were a little bit like, yeah, well, when I was in Africa, there's a guy from APLA, PAC, right? Who was in Tanzania, who would say, you know what, when we had time off, we used to go to Nairobi because it was a little bit more like what we were used to in South Africa, because Tanzania was a little bit backward. That was what he was saying, right? Which I was just like, he didn't quite say it like that, but I was like, so I think there's a longer history here of South Africa looking within itself and orientating itself towards Black America, Black civil rights movement. And I think that grew up in a slightly adjacent to the Jamaican reggae scene, and there's always been a Jamaican reggae scene and a link to the UK, and I think a lot of the countries I was talking about, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, had a link to the UK, so there was a different kind of trajectory. That's kind of what I think. And the other thing I wonder is, when reggae becomes a big thing, when roots becomes a big thing, late 60s, 70s is exactly the period of African nationalism. Right? So either there were countries like Kenya which just became independent, or there were countries that were fighting for independence, like Zimbabwe, right? And everybody, you all said this, right? Every Zimbabwean I've ever talked to talk about the fact that when Mali played in 1980 independence, that was a big moment. And he had a song called Zimbabwe. The reason I went to Zimbabwe in the 94 for the first time, 95, was because of that song. Because I was like, I need to go to Africa, but where am I going to go? And I was like, that fantastic tune, Zimbabwe. So I think and I wonder whether there was something different going on with MK and APLA, and the struggle in South Africa has its own history that maybe follows a different trajectory. I wonder whether there's something there.
Because I wonder if, is it the government or private sector or the people? Do you think maybe the government or private sector could get in there and help the situation?
While you're on that, I having been at some point in a sect where those areas that you're mentioning, where I did notice that, again, like he was mentioning, I feel we need more soldiers, probably from South Africa, more soldiers who are really aggressive, standing by the genre of reggae music. Just like how you see your productions in your hip hop. We're not going to talk about your Mapiano because that's more cultural, coming from your Kwaito, Digong. You see something built from their certain sound, but we want like music from outside. So I'll use hip hop for example. If you see how hard the hip hop guys around, the organizers, the guys who are active, how hard they push, Up to now they host like the biggest hip hop festival in Africa, which is Back to the City. Yes. So that alone tells us that on our side, those people who have links up there, especially the local South Africans who are so much involved with reggae music, they have that leeway to go and push further. Right. Because, for example, when I came, there were 2 shows that used to happen when I first came to South Africa. My first thing was always to ask around, is there a radio session, reggae radio session? Then there was one, I'm just forgetting the elder, but it was around about the time when Twinkle Brothers came. Okay. This elder used to have a show around 9, I think. Yeah, so he was pushing that show. I felt proud. Then all of a sudden I heard that show was cut. Then you've got the YFM with the Justice and Admiral. which I think was still pushing a banner for reggae, although it wasn't on the root scene, which again later we found out that it dropped out. So for myself, I think we need to find out the causes why these shows get dropped down, because I don't personally think it's listenership. You see. So whatever reason it is, or whatever barrier it is, they need to go right in there, face it, and if there is a solution to it, solve it, so that we get back on track. Because radio is very influential, in especially in your texts.
I wonder whether in this conversation it would be good to have someone like Corbin McQuaid and his band, right? They're old timers, they've been playing since the 70s. So they would have a lot to say about reggae music in South Africa, right? And then there's another band as well, whose name I forgot, also old timers. What were they called? They were called Tribal something? Tidal Waves.
Tidal Waves.
Tidal Waves.
So to have this conversation with them, because they would be able to give you some of the history of like, because presumably I sense with them that their time, they had a moment when they were big. And so there was a moment when reggae was really big, and then it ellipsed, right? So why? What happened? You know? And like we said earlier, in Venda, there's still a massive reggae thing going on, right?
In Venda, right? So I don't know. So you have your dancehall, you have your dub, or reggae. So your dub and your reggae has got this positive message and uplifting message for liberation and emancipation and stuff like that. So that's the message, that we find a message in reggae or dub, right? But now when we get to dancehall now, it's kind of slackish, right?
It's a mixture.
Right. So like some of us, we don't find it comfortable dancing with some dancehall music, right? Do you think maybe, I don't know, should we educate people more on reggae? You know, what the music actually got a message? Does people know? I don't know. Does people know that?
That would be very important, because the message in reggae right now is so relevant to even our current situations. You know, I was at a discussion the other time where they were talking about colonialization, and they were saying right now we are in that phase of mental colonialization, economical colonialization. There were a couple of powerful topics addressed there, and I still feel reggae is still significant.
Yes.
Because these topics, you still find them in your roots reggae, being addressed and being spoken of, that these topics should be aired out. Make as many of our people learn, or rather unlearn what they have that has put them in this bracket. You see. So I'm with you there if we are saying the reggae agenda goes first. Because mostly with the dancehall, I think you would relate that it's more on the partying side. Partying, yes, the partying is okay for those who still feel, but while we get to the partying side, have we gone through, you know, ourselves in terms of my levity as I and I where I am, the challenges that I'm facing, you see. Because it's not always, for me, I don't feel financial is the main challenge. Because for one to attain financial independence, it starts with the mind. Yeah. Because you get to lose certain things, walk a certain way. That's probably where you get to have your budgets. Now you see that, hey, since I've stopped going this direction, I now have more from the same amount that I used to have less while doing this. And some of those teachings, they are there in the reggae music.
Exactly.
I wonder though, there's that side, and I think we all agree that there's a strong positivity in the sound system culture, in the reggae history, and the roots. And there are some bits of dancehall that was very slack. I mean, I think a lot of the slackness of dancehall we talked about this last time, has to do with what was going on in Jamaica at that time. Right? A lot of political violence, a lot of cocaine, a lot of guns, a lot of drugs, a lot of sexism, a lot of homophobia, a lot of, So, and that kind of got exported elsewhere. I think one of the bigger problems might be what you were talking about earlier, which is like there's an industry that controls music, right? Like Spotify and it makes everything very bland, right? So what I would like to see is not just more reggae, but also more jazz, more other kinds of music, more diversity. Because when I first went to Melville, when I moved there and I lived there and I first went to visit, there used to be a jazz bar, and then there was like a rockers bar, and then there was like a hip hop bar, and then there was an R&B bar. You know, it was like kind of a diverse place, right? Now all of a sudden, every bar plays the same thing.
Wow.
And it's very boring. And it's just like, oh God, it's the thing that's being pushed out by Spotify or whatever. Like, so the first step, as well as, you know, obviously I'm into roots, I'm into dub, that's my scene. But apart from the pushing that, I would just like to see more diversity. You know, which is why, you know, the Grind Radio who I work with, I kind of have a strong, I have a lot of respect for what they do, because they play punk, they play folk, they play drum and bass, they play drunkle, they have a lot of diversity going on there, which is interesting, and people find their way through that.
Right. So South Africa, you're saying that we should bring everything together, and
I wonder whether it's bigger than South Africa, actually.
the whole of Africa.
No, the whole world. I think
whole world.
there's something to do with the music industry. It's becoming more the same, right? Everything's the same, you know. This is why, you know, who's that guy, that British guy with the red hair, what's his name? The guy who plays on the guitar. I remember watching him say once, you know, every successful tune plays the same 3 chords.
Right.
And he was like, look, it's easy, blah, blah. And I was just like, that is so why I don't like your music. Right? Because you just showed us this little trick. Little trick, and everybody loves you. Like, fuck off. Am I allowed to swear?
Yes, you're allowed. It's you're allowed.
So more diversity would be great.
Oh, there we go, guys.
But
Wow.
Thanks.
So we just end with me going, fuck off.
was it?
Wow. Amazing.
Feel the vibe of being alive.
All right. As we were saying previously, with regards to how the landscape in terms of reggae is, from my experience, because I normally drive around or ride around with my bike, I play reggae. So I can tell you now, without any doubt, the most loved music that I play is reggae roots. Every kind of people you meet, they love it. And when I say every kind, I mean all types of people from different backgrounds. So it sort of brings all the people together. I've played dub, I've played dubstep, I've played everything on the streets there. I'm talking of live on the streets.
Right.
But when I play roots reggae,
Right.
they all come out. Wherever I'm playing, they just want to come.
Wow.
One person just told me, I'm not coming to buy what you're selling. I hate that music, that's what I'm coming to listen to. That's what they tell me. So roots reggae, I can tell you everywhere you go, any type of suburb you go, it just draws the people's attention, and they love to come and listen to it. That's from my experience.
Right. That sounds amazing. That means there's a big potential for the whole genre, right? The whole reggae scene.
Correct.
How can we create more opportunities for emerging artists and dub reggae DJs, you know, in SA? Because I feel that SA needs more activities happening in the scene, you know? So how can we create more opportunities for upcoming artists and DJs?
I think we have to do exactly what we're doing and do more of it. And when I say what we're doing, I'm thinking about events like this, but also, you know, we've got loads of forums now, right? Online radio, YouTube clips, Instagram. That's how you push it. There's a lot more. In the 90s, there was nothing like that. Now it is. So we just have to push it like that. Because I think you're right. One of the things about reggae music and why it's so amazing is that it travels everywhere. And it crosses over, you know, countries are artificial, boundaries are artificial, citizenship is artificial, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And reggae music is something that comes from the global south, from Jamaica, from a situation of oppression. And it's influenced the whole world. So now, you know that reggae is massive in Tokyo? You know that there's a massive reggae scene, some of the best new stuff is coming out of Tokyo. You know, it's amazing, right? Everywhere. And so, for me, reggae is something that reaches out across all the bullshit that people create, all the boundaries, all the differences, and it touches everybody, and that's why it's exciting and positive.
Exactly. Yes. What is your project? Do you have any projects you're working on right now that we can look forward to?
Yeah. Now that takes us back to what I was mentioning earlier about the sound and sound system.
Right.
So earlier I had mentioned that when I came here, naming myself a sound with my crew did not make sense to the guys around here because they had a sound system culture.
Right.
Right. So that now inspired me to start wanting to have a sound system.
Right.
But besides now, because obviously you're going to need to put your monies together for a proper sound system. But before you get to all that, like you mentioned, one has to be active. So I've been following a lot of events, trying to see what can be improved from the different dances, even from the packaging of the event itself, trying to see actually the people who are engaging with such dances, who are coming with the follow-up. Is it building up? If it's building up, in which areas is it building up? And why is it building up in such areas? In some places it's going low. And also discovering that there are still other places out there who are yearning for such a vibe, but there's no one in their space. Like I'm from the north side, so Randburg going up. I used to have those kind of shows a couple of years back in a park, but now they've since changed the park to mini shops.
Right.
So the space is not there. But the days that we did, we used to get a full house, and people are still asking for such a vibe. So we need to find another venue again in the north. You see.
Okay.
I see East Rand is doing quite well,
Right.
which is great. I think they are pushing, they're giving an impact, which actually has been felt out there
Right.
by
Right.
people. Big up to East Rand for that. But wouldn't it be nice to have all areas, the north, the south? Then
Collaboration.
you have like committed people from those different sects who come up together and probably put up a nice festival. I mean,
Yes.
like this venue is quite big enough. It's spacious. It's got everything.
Yes. Yes.
Have a weekend festival with now your north, your south, your
Yes.
east.
Yes.
In one, because reggae is harmony. It's oneness.
Yes.
At
Yes.
the end of the day, if that can be done,
Exactly.
I think then we make more noise, even though we're going to go back to our places after that event. You have more people in the north who have now seen probably content from what has happened. They want now to engage within us, in our space,
Yes.
building numbers.
I think I actually agree 100% with what he's saying. When he talks of the north, east, south, and all that, there has to be people who are committed in those areas, and they have to push vibes,
Yes.
not a once-off thing. Constantly being persistent in whatever we do. You know why it's like that? If you look at Gauteng, it's huge in terms of area. If you talk of geographical area, so traveling can be a problem for some people. If you do such shows, traveling can be a problem. But if it's a once-off event, like he is saying, then it's great the way people meet. But because of traveling challenges with some people where you have to use public transport, where you are in the north, people who are in the north, they need to be catered for by the people who live in the north. Those DJs who are in the north, you need to play your music. Those who are in the east must sort the east. The south, we are here in the south must sort the south and grab all the people around there. Because you cannot expect people crossing from that side, coming here, and then you knock off not late. Especially, I'm talking of people with public transport, right? Because then it becomes a challenge now for people to move
Travel.
around. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So the whole idea is let the north, the east, the south, the west play as much as they can.
So we've got to set up a sound system for the north. Is Melville north?
Yes.
Yes.
Central.
Yeah.
Central, yeah.
Central.
I mean, I think we could take that metaphor further, right? It's not just about location. So I think there's something weird about South Africa, and this is me looking in from an outsider, and it must be something to do with that evil manifestation of apartheid, which has put everybody in their fucking place, People, and it's not just geographical place, it's also class, it's also culture, it's also race, it's such a thing, you know. Everybody's in their little fucking pocket,
Yes.
and that's not a world I want to live in.
Yeah, no.
I don't want to live in a world where we're all like in our little space, guarding our little spaces. You know, I'm a traveler, and I think, you know, a lot of people I meet haven't traveled. I'm always surprised to students I teach who haven't been to like Maputo. Maputo's just over there. So it's like, you know,
You get into a one freeway.
yeah, it's easy, just drive. You know, so this is kind of like, I think there's something about South where everybody's in their place, and that's cultural, that's musical, that's geographical, and I think what reggae offers is us to break open, to get out of that.
Right. Interesting. So we're talking more of collaborating and stuff like that with all the genres and stuff, right? I think this is a discussion that we have to, that we can continue, and it can just go on and on and on, because I feel that this discussion is important. But now I think our time is up, because we are at the art farm for our reggae jamming session.
Big respects to our farm.
Yes, powered by the Boom Sound, King Roots International.
Respect.
See,
Respect.
and I feel that there's
Rivers and art.
Rivers at Art. Yes,
Yeah.
Rivers at Art Cafe
yes.
at the art farm.
Where we
Yeah.
eat the niceness. So I want to give thanks for everyone for coming through, and let us organize another discussion. I feel we have a lot to cover, you know, and I feel that we need to work on a festival.
Yes.
Like Monia said, one location. Okay, let's get everyone from all rands, and
Let's get everybody from the continent. I think there are people in Uganda who'd love to come here.
so
I think there are
that's
people in Nairobi who'd love to come here.
right.
It's like, it's one world,
This,
right?
this is a home.
Yes,
It's home.
yes. Azania.
One world, right?
Yes. We give thanks,
Yeah.
everybody, for the wisdom and everything.
Thanks for the
Blessed.
invites.
Omega Tafari here on UUC TV. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tune in again. Blessings.
Blessings.